Hey world, it's Nevin. Haven't made a video in quite a while. Um, but there's a lot going on in the world today. What is it? Friday, it's either April 1st or March 31st. I don't even know right now. But Trump was just indicted in Manhattan. And just having some conversations. And I just noticed some some other weird stuff on the internet. Like there's this group called Sedition Hunters. And they're out to get those January 6th people. And I don't know how I even came upon it. I was just surfing the internet. One of their things popped up. So I looked at their page for a second. And I saw a photo of a guy who was wearing the same kind of hat I was. It was kind of a side angle. And there's not that many people that look particularly like me. But for a second, I'm like, holy crap, is that me? Like, why are they looking for me? And so then I like put in the FBI number of this person, this individual, that for a second I'm like, wow, it looks like me. And then I compared the earlobes, and our earlobes are different. And then I went and looked at like the way I had my facial hair on January 6th, because I was in Washington, D.C., but I didn't go in the Capitol building or do anything like that. So I'm like, are they arresting anybody that just went to D.C. that day or what now? But no, then I looked at his other pictures and it wasn't me. But it got me thinking, like, just some of these groups and how some of these people in America are so fanatical about seeing some kind of harm inflicted on these people. And it's same thing with the Trump indictment. Like, there's some people that, like, just get a grip, folks. Stop wishing harm on people for bad reasons. Now, if somebody truly committed a crime, hoping for justice is appropriate. But when it becomes a partisan witch hunt, which some of the people's enthusiasm about getting the people for January 6th, that's not a desiring justice kind of thing. If they were that concerned about justice, why aren't you just as concerned about Hillary Clinton's 30,000 emails? Are there people who are after people for January 6th activities that were illegal that are just as up in arms about Hillary Clinton obstructing justice and deliberately deleting 30,000 emails? I don't see too many, it's and I don't know the facts of the Trump case out of Manhattan, other than I did notice that apparently they voted 80% Democrat in that particular district. And so it would seem from the demographics, maybe they're a bit partisan, even as a jury, to do that kind of case with that particular individual and all the Trump derangement syndrome going around. I think some of these people that are so fanatical about January 6th people are that way because of their Trump derangement syndrome, not because they're lovers of justice. It's like, I love justice. I am a lover of justice. There's a lot of injustice going on in the world and has been for quite some time. But where it goes from being a good, wholesome pursuit of justice into a bad, malicious, right? Because wanting to bring harm to somebody because they have different political views than you, that's bad. That's malicious. That's not a good reason to wish harm on somebody. And there's a lot of people like that. And it's really a shortcoming of them to not be able to distinguish, difference in policy ideas with what justice is. And justice is not attacking somebody using the color of law, right? There's actually crimes about abuses for ulterior motives under color of law. And there's a lot of that going on. Not enough time to sue everybody, but damn, people, get it together. Don't be one of those people, right? It's like, and it's tempting, and I understand the temptation. It's like, I like Donald Trump a lot more than I like Hillary Clinton. but I don't really like anybody in those kind of seats of power abusing them. I could say the same thing about cops or lawyers. There's not very many lawyers I like. There's some, and the reasons I like them. There's one I've actually been in a lawsuit with who caused me a lot of trouble, and really he was kind of acting underhandedly. That's why I sued him. I'm not going to say his name, but I always liked that lawyer. I still like him because he's a zealous advocate for his clients. And there's a lot of attorneys that just aren't all that zealous. And I don't like those attorneys because they're in a position of high responsibility and power, and they're wasting it and not doing justice. I mean, they're the people whose duties it is to see justice done. And they have different rules and ethical things they're supposed to do. And the same thing with cops. It's like I've owned a bail bonds agency for close to 7 years, and I've had to arrest a lot of fugitives. And I have a much greater appreciation for cops now that I've had to experience that, because it's psychologically, it's a pretty difficult thing to do in a number of ways, and somebody's got to do it. I don't advocate against it. Obviously, we need to have police. We need to have law and order, and so I really like good cops because it's a tough job to do. Somebody's got to do it, and it's an important job. But at the same time, there's a lot of potential for abuses of people's rights. So I really dislike, dirty cops or bad cops. Same thing with attorneys. They're in exact same basis for me to like or dislike them. And I'll be honest, I dislike, maybe I'm jaded. I do have some attorneys I really like, though. I really like good attorneys. I appreciate their good work. I like our system of governance. Like, for instance, I'm just going to tell you one legal case I like. And I was just talking about it with a friend of mine that's an attorney the other day. I think, if I recall right, the name of the case was Mitchell, like State of Michigan v. Mitchell or something like that. It was back in, I think, 1994, somewhere in the mid-90s, about DUI checkpoints. And this guy raised it and said it was unconstitutional search and seizure. And it went to the Michigan Supreme Court, which I believe they said under the U.S. Constitution it was unconstitutional. So then the case was appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the U.S. Supreme Court said DUI checkpoints are okay. Then it went back to the Michigan Supreme Court. And the Michigan Supreme Court said, fine, they might not be okay under U.S. law, but they're okay, or they might be okay under the U.S. Constitution, but they're unconstitutional under the Michigan Constitution. And so in most states in the country, DUI checkpoints are constitutional, both under federal law, and I don't know of any states really besides Michigan that it's unconstitutional under. But that was a really cool case to see how the judicial process worked out there. I thought the Michigan Supreme Court came away looking like the most badass Supreme Court anywhere in this country in that case. Anyway, there's lots of good things that happen within our country. But political prosecutions is low and some of the worst things, collectively speaking, that happen. And they're happening right now. And that's not good. I heard a clip of Justice Antonin Scalia, who died a few years back under questionable circumstances, found with a pillow over his face. He was one of the most conservative justices there are, and he wrote some of the best opinions, and he was just one of my favorite, maybe the best ever, as far as justices go, in my opinion. But he was talking about how other countries some of them have better constitutions than us. He mentioned the Soviet Union. We have like freedom of speech in ours and that kind of thing, but Soviet Unions went on to say anyone who tries to stop anyone from protesting against the government will be severely punished. You're not supposed to mess with anybody and stop their freedom of speech kind of thing. And it went into greater detail. But Scalia was pointing out that, he said the Founding Fathers would call that a parchment guarantee, which basically means it's on paper, but it never gets enforced. And it was because their system of government allowed for the centralization of power, and that gridlock is a design of our country, and it's a good design because basically it amounts to our rights are more enforceable and more likely to be enforced because the judiciary is independent and yada, yada, yada. Anyway, political prosecutions aren't good. I just wanted to put that out there. Have a nice day.